Well, good morning. Welcome to a Sunday. It's January 12th. It's 6:02 in the morning here in western Iowa. 27 degrees, a northwest wind is howling. Temperatures expected to fall into the teens by this afternoon. Let's start out with our weather spotlight as we take a look at the snow cover that America is waking up to today, and we see quite a bit of it still in the Mid-South, even after some melting yesterday. Quite a bit of snow on the ground still for most of Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, all of Tennessee and Kentucky, etc., etc. But of note is the snow hole. Southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and most of Wisconsin without snow on the ground. Less snow in Green Bay than Memphis, Tennessee. It's pretty crazy. However, we're going to try and fix that over the next 10 days. Now, this is not the snow depth in 10 days. This is the amount of snow expected to fall between today and 10 days from now, according to the GFS ensemble. And so, yeah, could see light snow back in the south and further south this time. One reason why is we have some very cold air coming. And since there's already snow on the ground in much of the U.S., that cold air doesn't get a chance to modify. It stays cold further south. Plus, it's a colder shot. But take note, Wisconsin, you're back in the game with snow on the ground. Great Lakes, it's going to be crazy with the snow jets starting really today, tomorrow in earnest, especially really the entire Great Lakes. I mean, you're looking at over a foot easy for most of your normal snow jet locations. Lighter amounts through the plains, but still a chance for some extra snow here in western Iowa where we still only have an inch or two on the ground. Current temperatures. It is in the upper 20s here in western Iowa, but that cold air is lurking north, and that northwest wind is howling as the cold front's blowing through. So -2 right now in Minot, and that cold air is coming south. This is kind of crazy. I mean, we'll start on the West Coast. It's seasonable, I would say 40s, cool. But 28 Tucson right now. That's cold. And then across the South, lots of 20s here all the way down to the Gulf Coast, including the Florida Panhandle and some teens up there in the Appalachians. But yeah, it's cold this morning, especially where you have the snow cover, which kind of makes sense. Let's take a look at our hazards for today. And we're talking freeze warnings where it's freezing in parts of Florida, into Georgia and Alabama, also in southern Arizona and the central valleys of California. Just such a tragedy in Southern California with the wildfires. Those are still burning. Some of them are still spreading, and we still have red flag warnings up today, and we still have wind issues in the LA basin and other parts of California, even along the Colorado River. So prayers continue for the folks in LA. You get into the northern plains, looks like some decent snows for Montana into Wyoming, even parts of Colorado, and up there in northern Minnesota and into Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan. Some snow coming down with some watches, winter weather advisories mostly there. But we do have winter storm warning for the Arrowhead of Pennsylvania. Surface for today, here comes that cold front through the northern plains into the Midwest. There's your snow around the Great Lakes and some heavy snow, possibly Montana. And then some rain down there along the Gulf Coast. For tomorrow, the snow jets really get cranking for the eastern Great Lakes. But even western Michigan into the UP of Michigan is going to see that lake effect snow. A little narrow band of light snow perhaps through western Iowa. We have a chance of up to a half inch here, according to the Weather Service. Probably a dusting, if that, probably. And some rain down there in the southeast. Your 48-hour precipitation shows that rain in the southeast. Could be kind of heavy, maybe 1.5 inches along the coast. And then the rest of this on here is snow. And again, we're talking western Michigan could see good 10, 12 inches here with those lake effect snows, also parts of the UP of Michigan. And we're starting to see those amounts add up. This will really be getting going tomorrow. But even in northern New York, upstate New York, could see a good 8-12 inches in places. And there's your snow in Montana, so some isolated amounts over a foot there as well. As we get into Tuesday, we see that heavy snow continuing in the eastern Great Lakes, kind of the main weather event in town. Light snow in the Midwest and up into the northern Rockies with some rain down in Florida. Taking a look at the GFS this morning, because we're going to take a longer range look to see where that cold air and where that snow could go. Again, it's pretty far out, so we don't have certainty yet, but this is one model's solution. Starting this morning with the light snow up here in the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes, and there's that cold front blasting through the northern plains into the Midwest. As we get through the day today, that colder air sinking south, all the way into Texas. So a reinforcing shot of cold air. This gets us to midnight tonight, and you see that heavy rain along the Texas Gulf Coast. And as we get into tomorrow, we start turning on those snow jets along the Great Lakes as that cold air spills eastward, a little bit south and definitely eastward. And so that's going to be the kind of the major event in town. There's our little bit of light snow moving through eastern Nebraska, western Iowa. Could be a dusting up to a ½ inch for some. That area expands as it gets into Illinois, but again, it's really light into the Ohio Valley, into West Virginia as well. Snow jets just continuing. Really windy here in the Northeast, and it's cold wind as well. As we get into, where are we now? We're getting into Wednesday morning. This is 6 a.m. Wednesday. And we're starting to see some warmer air moving into the plains now. You're probably going to melt the rest of your snow here in North Texas into Oklahoma, starting to see more snow melt. Hanging on to the cold, though, for parts of the Mid-South. But this warm air nudging into the Midwest, we could see highs near 40. What? Thursday and Friday, upper 30s to near 40 here in western Iowa. Before the bottom drops out, we'll show you that here in a sec. But we're seeing more lake-enhanced and lake-effect snow with little disturbance riding through there. Here's our low riding along the Canadian border, and as it continues east, the big dump of cold air is coming in behind that. So this is Friday morning at 6 a.m. You see the warmth here. That's going to be replaced by the cold here. So as we go forward in time, we see that cold front just blasting south. We have some snow behind it, light snow. Ahead of it, we're seeing a low develop along the front. And so we're going to get some possibly heavy rain on top of your snowpack for Mississippi into Tennessee, rain here in Louisiana. So we'll see how that plays out. But you may lose your snow before you replace it. A line of storms here moving through the south. This is Saturday morning at 6 a.m. Meanwhile, that cold air all the way into Texas now with some light snow up there in Colorado kind of fading out. But we do see that rain pushing through the rest of the southeast, changing over to snow now as we get into late Saturday night into early Sunday for Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia. This is lighter than the last event, but hanging out for a little bit. Although it's starting to get heavy now up here in West Virginia as we get into Sunday morning, 6 a.m. Cold air coming into most of the country, even leaking into western Washington and eventually western Oregon, and getting all the way down to the Gulf Coast and then pushing east. And if this comes exactly true, Sunday afternoon, evening, we could see some nice snows for the Northeast. They've been kind of left out too. It's not just you, Wisconsin, and here in Iowa. Here in Iowa, we've had 3 inches of snow so far. We should be closer to a foot at this point. But anyway, so windy and cold and snowy in the Northeast, more lake effect snow. Next Monday, so a week from tomorrow, again, we're getting out into more of the land of uncertainty. But that cold air is all the way down to the Gulf Coast. But we're not seeing a lot of moisture in here, at least not on this run. Now, as we get into Tuesday, the 21st, we are seeing, according to this run, some snow and some ice busting out in Texas into Louisiana and Mississippi. This is further south than the last round, if this comes true. Now, remember the last round, in the early runs, it was showing some ice down to Houston, and then that did not verify it was further north. So we'll see how this plays out. But there is a chance as we get later in the month for perhaps another snow and ice event. Exactly how cold it's going to be and how much rain and snow and ice we're going to get remains to be seen. But this is just to give you an idea of the timing. If this model run is correct, this gets us into the morning of the 22nd as that moves off. And then, so, maybe a little bit of light snow for West Texas by Friday the 24th. But it's going to be cold. We're still hanging on to much below average for most of the country for the next 8 to 14 days. So this is January 19 through the 25th. Alaska's warm, displacing that cold air south. And Hawaii, you're warm and above average. So even warmer than warm. Precipitation, January 19 through 25. A lot of places above average, especially in the southeast here. But of note, below average where I live. Well, no, kind of near average for Iowa, but below average for, say, Minnesota. But a lot of places above average precipitation is a pretty good bet. And staying dry for where they need it in California. Wet and snowy in Alaska and Hawaii. All right, that's our quick look at the weather this morning. We'll keep you updated as we go. Of course, things are going to change as we move forward. So we'll just keep you posted along the way. I'm going to get ready for church. All right. See you tomorrow. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. The Weather Mic.